So my number one is You've Got Mail. Maybe a predictable choice, but oh well. From 1998, directed by Nora Ephron, starring Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Greg Kinnear, Dave Chappelle. Quick logline: book superstore magnate Joe Fox and independent bookshop owner Kathleen Kelly fall in love in the anonymity of the internet, both blissfully unaware that he's trying to put her out of business. So this movie's on had to be on my list because this is what I see in fall, which is things are happy, it's holiday season, everything is beautiful, crisp air, there's like a buoyancy to it. And yes, there's reflectiveness and all of that, but for the most part, it's sort of a happy time. And that's whenever I think of fall movies, this is the movie I think of. I would say more than some of the other ones, although it's a close race here. But yeah, that's why this movie is number one. A lot has been talked about this movie, so there's not that much more to add other than I think this is also, we've been talking a lot about reflection. This is also a very reflective movie in that sense, especially for Meg Ryan's character and maybe Tom Hanks's character too, of like, for her, it's about what is my legacy? What do I stand for? How much do I want to hold on to that? And the same is actually true for Tom Hanks's character as well. He grew up in a very different way, comes from big money. You see his father, the way he lives. There's a sense of arrogance there, obviously. And I think it's a very smart premise that both these characters are wrestling with the same things, really. What is my legacy? What do I stand for? But from different points of views, and that's the clash. And then that's what leads to love. If I'm being totally honest, like how and why they get together in the end, I've always had a question mark there. But if anybody can sell it, it's these two actors. Because it's a pretty big jump after everything that's gone on in the movie. But I sort of buy it. I would have been totally okay if they actually didn't get together or maybe just stayed friends. But I get it. It's a rom-com. You need that cheer moment. They have to come together somehow. It's Nora Ephron, obviously one of the sharpest writers there is. Like, this movie is so sharp from like a dialogue standpoint across the board from the very beginning, just like little things across the board. It's funny. It's sad. It's delightful. It's joyful. The one last thing I would say is that, I was showing this to my boyfriend the last time we saw it last year, and he's like, if she's going out of business, why does she have 6 employees in a store? I'm like, I didn't think about that before. Good point. Why do you have all these people? What do they do? Nothing. Yeah. You don't need any of those people, actually. So, chop, like get your act together.
So, Layoffs.
Yeah. I mean, exactly.
Yeah.
So that always, now that makes me kind of crack up now that I know that in my head. But yeah, it's a delightful movie. Both of them are amazing, and it's New York. It's fall. It's a good time.
Yeah. So this this podcast, I hadn't seen this film either. So it's 3 new films for me. Yeah, never seen this. I had a very different take on the film than you did. I know it's the fall episode, so saying hot take might not really be appropriate. Maybe like cool, crisp take on this film. I was actually kind of surprised at the base. A lot of things in this film really surprised me. One was the basic premise of the fact that they're having an affair from the outset. The movie starts with them already having been communicated in this chat room. They both have significant others, one a live-in partner, the other one a boyfriend. It's not like there's any sense that they're that they're not like wrong for each other. There's no drama or that partner's bad for them, but they're already having this affair online. Which
wouldn't say it's an affair. It's more like a friendship.
I think there's even a scene in the movie where it's like, is having an online affair the same thing as cheating? Like, she literally has that line in the film. And maybe it's the late 90s. So somehow like online affairs are okay because the internet is new. But I was like, whoa, this is like weird that like they're having, why would you as a writer just make them single or make one of them have a terrible partner or something, or like just that was very weird. It actually was to the point where like there's a scene when Tom Hanks's girlfriend like goes to sleep and he waits till she's asleep and then runs off and then gets on his computer and is like I don't know, say texting, like messaging or emailing first, right? Because you got mail. Then it switches to AIM, and I remember like, oh my god, now they're like, oh no, this is accelerated to the point, and now the affair is like instant messaging. And then there's a scene where Tom Hanks like, should we meet in person? And I'm like, whoa, major escalation there. So that part was just weird. It's like, why have them being in an affair the whole time? And if you want to have a meet cute of them meeting in a chat room randomly, like, let's see that. So we're at least invested in this relationship instead of, at least for me in the outside, I'm like, okay, these guys bad. Like this, this is not good for me. And then like Tom Hanks, like it's a weird performance, and his character when he finds out who she is, that she, is the woman that he's trying to drive out of business and stuff. He knows that first, like, right. They're having this online affair. And then he's like, oh, let's meet in person. So they're going to meet at this bar. When he realizes that's her and then decides to not say anything to her and then kind of like toy with her for the rest of the movie, I thought was like kind of like sociopathic.
Yeah, especially that's the part that I mean.
It's like, why does this need, can't he just tell her and have it be like they both have the power in this relationship instead of him lording this over her? And then there's this weird sequence when he's like still messaging her as his online persona, but then meeting her in person, and he's sort of like giving her advice on the online. It's like he's saying, oh, choose between me or me. And let me kind of like get into this, and sort of like, it just seemed like these weird like mind games that just seemed, gaslighting. It just was very odd. And then there's a scene when he goes to her apartment. And again, she still doesn't know that he's her secret online affair. He knows it, but she doesn't. Shows up with flowers, like kind of forces himself in on this woman who's like, you're just some guy. Like, what are you doing? Sits on her bed, puts his hand on her mouth. And I'm like, whoa, what are you? If I was Meg Ryan, I'd be like, get the hell out of here. Who are you? Just sitting, like, bring me flowers, sit on bed, forcing yourself into my apartment. Like, all of that was just so weird. And she's sick. I'm like, what is going on here? And then I can't really recreate this scene, but when he is going back a little bit to that scene when he just realizes that it's her, and Dave Chappelle, who's his friend, is like, oh, she's gorgeous or something. He gives this weird, like, he goes into these like spasms on the street, like freaking out about like, oh, she's so hot and attractive and whatever. And it's just the oddest performance. I just did not. Tom Hanks at first he was like, okay, kind of weird. Then he starts turning to kind of really weird after that freak out. And the whole rest of the movie, I'm like, you're kind of a villain in this, honestly. Like, you're literally toying with this poor woman while at the same time totally destroying her entire life, her livelihood, and a livelihood that the movie also makes a point represents her mom to her. Oh, my mom died. She left me this store. This is everything to me. And then Tom Hanks knows that and still destroys the business. And then when she finds out, she's like, yeah, whatever, fine. I what is that line at the end? Oh, I was hoping it'd be you. It's like, what? I don't buy that. That last scene was just, yeah, so many ways. Like, they could have, again, I blame the writing in this, honestly. Like, they could have written something where it's like, okay, well, maybe once he realizes it's her in his big bookstore or whatever, they'll shut down the kids section, and it'll be like, look, you'll be the kids bookstore, and we'll have like, every other thing, so you can still stay in business, or maybe I'll acquire you or put you inside, like your store is inside of my store, or something that shows that he has love for her because she values this store. I just, it was shocking to me that this movie was as successful and as it was. Honestly, I thought it was very odd.
$250 million.
I know. Worldwide. Yeah. Like, did anyone not see, like, first they're having online affairs, and then he's like a gaslighting sociopath. It was fun to watch this because it's like, wait, there's no way this is still gonna, every scene was like surprising. But I guess the good thing in the end is, there's this whole thing about like large bookstores, killing the small bookstores and driving out of business. And this movie took place in like 98, 99. So give it a couple years, and then the online bookstores will destroy Tom Hanks' business. So he'll get his just desserts at some point. That's my hot take on You Got Mail. I was not expecting to sort of have as many problems with this movie. I thought it'd just be a harmless kind of like Lifetime movie sort of thing, which I enjoy, like lighthearted romance movies. But Yeah, at least like address that they're having an affair and not this weird, a throwaway kind of scene where they bring it up, but then they kind of push it under the rug. All choices the writer could have made differently. It's not like all these things could have been different. It didn't have to be in part of the plot, but yeah, that's my You Got Mail crisp cold take for the fall.
I actually can't argue with any of those factual points because they're all true and all weird, but there's something about, I think, the feeling of the movie that sort of makes it okay. The part that I can't get over with is sort of the ending part. Like these two people should not be together.
No.
That I've never been able to get past.
No.
But the rest of it, I don't know. Like the rest of the people who contributed to $250 million worldwide. I somehow got okay with. I don't know why. Maybe I need to interrogate that more. I think the thing with the affair thing is that, and maybe this could have been shown a little bit better. The way I've always read it is that those relationships that they're in have been long over,
Sure.
And I don't think even they know at this point that they're actually, having an affair with each other. It's sort of this thing that's popped up that is a friend, is a guide, a distraction, or what have you. And sometimes that happens, I think, it's sort of, I wish it was dealt with a little bit more like thoughtfulness and sensitivity versus like it's caught in the rom-com trope, right? So they're not going to give it that much. Like there's probably a dramatic version of this movie, which makes a whole lot more sense and addresses all the things that you're saying. But I think a lot of that is just like put on the wayside because they just, want to keep it fun and light and happy and what have you. But that's how I've always read it, that these people they've been long over and they are not fully aware that this is even happening, that they are actually in an affair. I don't think they know that. Yeah.
I mean, again, like the movie could have
Yeah, the movie could have done a better job.
Show that a little bit more. Yeah, because I agree with you. Like Brief Encounter, one of my favorite movies, right? Like that's about two people have it happen. Yeah, we talked about in a previous episode, right? People happen to meet each other and then stuff happens. You can't control that. That's destiny, what have you. A little bit different than like sliding into someone's DMs in an anonymous chat room and starting to like chat someone up on the side. I don't know, something about that. And maybe it is just the technology being different. I somehow drive that as different. But again, the movie didn't need to do that. It's a fake world. Like they could have had both of them single or one of them single or shown the relationships being over instead of, Tom Hanks' wife was trying to get her a job more than when he was doing for her. She's like, oh, I'm a book dealer or something. I forget what the line was. She was a good person. Like she's helping. Tom Hanks is destroying her career. His girlfriend's trying to help her career. Meanwhile, this is the girl that he's having, online. It was crazy. I just was very surprised. But I was surprised by them. I'm glad I finally saw it because in my mind, it was like, like a Runaway Bride or, that kind of fluffy sort of like romantic comedy thing that I don't know. I had a lot of problems with it, but it was fun to watch it just to be so surprised. And just, I love like the 90s sort of internet movies where you're like, oh, this is so funny and how dated all the technology is. Even from the opening sequence when it's like this whole computer generated.
I love it.
That's fun. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I love it.
But You Got Mail. That's my take on it. Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.